Okay, guys, it's story time. I have another story for you guys. This story is about the time when I found out the dude I was talking to was and yeah, it just came to a big shock to me. So let's get into it. So this happened about maybe 3 years ago. About 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years ago. So this is an old story, okay? I'm not as dumb as I was before, all right? Let's just put a disclaimer out there. So basically, give you a backstory where I met the boy at. I worked at a sports bar, and he basically, came in as a customer, and I was actually, I don't know what I was doing that day. I don't know if I was serving, bartending, something. I don't know. I was doing something that day, and he ordered to go, and everyone was like, oh, can you go help him? I'm busy, da, da, da. So I was already grumpy because it was a morning shift, and I'm not a morning person, so I was already like, why do I have to help him? You guys are right there. So when I went over there, started talking to him, asking him what he wanted, he was taking forever. So I was already getting irritated because of that. Because, how you going to say you need help and then taking forever to actually get the help? You don't know what you want. You don't know nothing. So at that point, I'm just like, all right, whatever. And after I ended up helping him, I'm like, your food will be out in a minute. He's just like, okay. After that, his food ended up coming out, and he asked for my Instagram. And then I was like, all right, because he wasn't ugly. He was cute, except I was just not in the mood to deal with that. At that moment, I was just so ready to go home. So he was just like, I started to type out my Instagram to give him my Instagram. And I was, hesitating a little bit, not because of, me not wanting to give it to him, but because I could not remember how many E's were in my Instagram name at the time. So he was like, he's like, you don't know your Instagram name or what? And I was like, do you want my Instagram or not? And he just looked at me and started smiling. And I'm like, exactly. Shut your mouth and get the Instagram like you asked for. Don't be picking and choosing. Beggars can't be choosers, sir. You can't be doing all that. So then after that, basically, we were just texting a little bit. I wouldn't say we would text every day, but we were just texting. To me, he was just one of my little boos at this point, because I'm just I'm single and I can do whatever I want to do. Hello. So he would constantly come in, he would come in and he'd be like, come sit down, talk to me. So he'll come in, I'll just sit and talk to him for a bit, and then I will go back to work. So the time that we actually hung out was one time with me and my friends. We ended up getting a hotel. I forgot why. Maybe it was someone's birthday or something. I could not remember. But we ended up getting a telly, and everybody was there, and I told him to pull up. He ended up pulling up after he was at some pool party or something out the way, in the valley or whatever. And I was just like, okay, pull up after. And he's like, all right, I will. So he ended up pulling up after. We kicked it a little bit, and then we had relations. And then after I went home, and he kind of not followed me all the way home, but kind of followed me home, make sure I got there or whatever. And then we were just text some more. He'll pop up again at my job. We'll sit and talk again. I'm like, there's no way you like this food this much for you to keep coming over here. You're clearly coming over here for me. So then the second time we hung out was he came into my job. He came into my job again, and I was bartending at the time. So I'm at the computer, putting in an order, the POS or whatever. Putting in an order, and I, my peripheral vision, I see someone walk up to the edge of the bar. And then I see them sit down, but I didn't turn my head to see who it was. So I just seen, a body, a person walk up. So I'd, continue putting in the order. But I feel their eyes staring me down, really hard. So I finally turn and I look, and I'm like, oh, and he's just standing there just smiling like a little creep. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm trying to pick up food for my grandma. Backstory. Before he ended up, after the hotel party or whatever, my guy friend that was there at the party was like, oh, you're talking to him? And I'm like, why? And he was like, do you know he has kids? Kids with an S, not kid. Kids. And I'm like, what you mean he has kids? And he said he has 3 kids. I said, you're lying. He was like, no, bro. You didn't know that? I said, where was I supposed to know that at? He wasn't going to tell me. It's not on his Instagram. How am I supposed to know he has children? And he was like, yeah, bro, I thought you knew. And I'm like, no, I don't mess with baby dads. What are we talking about? Like, I'm literally young and turned. Why would I mess with a baby dad? Come on, like, no. So I was just like, after he told me that, I was low-key like, yeah, you on BS. I'm kind of cool off you, right? So when he came into the bar, at that time, like, bartending, if nobody knows about bartending, a lot of your customers will buy you shots. Buy you drinks, whatever. So when he came to my job, I was a little tipsy, not gonna lie. I was tipsy and I was working. And he was just smiling at me. And I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? And he was like, nothing, I missed you. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm picking up food for my grandma. Yo, grandma. You know your grandma don't eat this food. Stop playing games. So he's like, he's picking up food for his grandma. I'm like, yeah, your grandma. You mean your children, your kids. Like, stop playing games. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, and I was like, where'd you order it at? He's like, I ordered to go. And I'm like, okay. And then he was just sitting there talking to me. He's like, when you off? And I'm like, I should be off soon. Like, I'm not closing. I'm just mid. He's like, oh, okay. Like, I want to see you when you get off. He's like, I want to see you when you get off. Just call me. And I'm like, okay. And then he comes over. He's like, give me a hug. So, like, I walk out the bar, give him a hug. And then he's like, you've been drinking? And I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, how you drinking? And I'm like, well, my customers be buying me shots. Like, what you mean? And he was like, He's like, you be messing with people up here? And I'm like, no. And then I was like, why? And he's like, nah, I'm just asking. I just need to know what you be doing. And he's like, I need to know what my boo's doing when I'm not around. Boy, what are you doing when I'm not around? You got 3 kids, sir. Three. What are you doing when I'm not around? You worried about what I'm doing. What are you doing? So then, boom, I'm just like, okay, like, whatever. And then he was like, call me when you get off. Like, I want to see you. I'm like, all right. So he ended up leaving. I ended up getting off, like, maybe, like, hour and a half later. I made good money, like, $400. I was juiced. I was like, oh, yeah, good day. And then my customers want me, like, 2 more shots. So I was tipsy at this point. Like, I'm chilling. And then I ended up calling him, and I'm like, hello, like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm at Target with my son. That was the first time he ever mentioned the kid. First time ever. I'm in Target with my son. I'm like, oh, for real, you're going to be with him? And he's like, no, like, I'm about to drop him off to his mom. And then I'm going to, like, send you the location where I'm at and then just come over here. And I'm like, okay, like, just let me know because I'm chilling right now. I'm kind of tipsy. Like, I'm just trying to mind my business right now. And he was just like, okay, like, he's like, just give me a second. I'll drop him off and then I'll text you or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get my clothes. I change my clothes or whatever. I text my friend. I'm like, hey, girl, like, I'm about to go kick it with this boy. My location's on and everything. Like, we're going to this city, this and this and this. And I'm like, and if I'm over there, like, way too late, girl, call my phone because you know I got to go home, right? So he ends up sending me his location. And he sent me the location. And I'm just like, okay, say less. Like, I change. I get in the car and I'm on the way there to him. And I'm just like, oh, my God, I'm so scared. Like, I haven't seen him in so long, and I low-key want to confront him about him having kids and didn't say nothing about it. Like, what? So then I finally meet up with him, right? And when I pull up, he's like, park right here. I'll be over there in a sec. Or something like that. Like, just park your car there, and I'm going to pick you up from your car. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, sounds good. So I park my car or whatever. And when I'm sitting there in my car, I'm like, hello on my phone. And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm parked here. He's like, okay, I see you. I'm about to pull up right now. So he pulls up on the side of me, and then he texts me and was like, get in the back. And I'm like, But I'm not saying nothing because I'm like, maybe his friend's in the car or something. Like, I don't know what he be doing. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get my purse, lock my door. I'll open the back door. Y'all never gonna believe what happened next. Let's go to part 2. So part 2 of me finding out the boy that I was talking to was up. So this is when it gets good. So he texts me and tells me to get in the back. And I'm like, okay, like, but I'm not thinking too much of it because I told y'all I was having a good time. So I'm like, whatever. So I like get out the car, grab my purse, whatever. I open the back door and I get in the back. So once he said get in the back, I got in and put my feet up and I leaned back. Like, I got in, sat down, put my feet up, and then I closed the door and leaned back. So when I got in, he's looking at me already, just smiling like a little creep, like always. And I'm just looking at him. I'm like, okay. And then I turn my head to see who's in the front. and it's a girl. I see bundles, and I'm in shock. Because what? You told me to get in the back for a lady? Oh, no. So now I'm sitting here baffled. Like, I know I'm not that drunk. Hold the hell on at this point. I'm like, there's no way I just opened this door, got in, and seen bundles. You're playing in my face at this point. I've never had a man ever play in my face like that. Like, in my face, though, in my face. So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, let me not say nothing yet. Let me see how it's going to play out. So I'm sitting there like this, and I'm like, watching. He turns around, and then they pull off. Mind you, the girl didn't say a word. She just sitting there quiet. Not even on her phone, nothing. She just like this, like looking. So then I'm just like, okay, like what the hell is going on at this point? So I'm just like, all right. So he ends up pulling off, and he like turns a corner, drives up a little bit, turns another corner, and he like, the music was on. So he turned the music down, and he was like, I'm finna drop you off right here. And I'm like, in the hood? I'm lost at this point. Now I'm really confused. Because you finna drop her off in the hood? Like, I'm lost. What? So then after that, he's like, I'm finna drop you off right here. And then he was like, I'm gonna be in the area. I'm not gonna be like real close by. Call me if you need me. That's what he said. He said, I'm gonna be close by. I'm not gonna be too close. I'm gonna be in the area. Call me if you need me. So I'm like, at this point, I'm thinking maybe cousin, sister, something. And then this next line woke my game up. He was like, do you have condoms? Y'all, when I tell you, I was definitely like, huh? But let's pause this. Hold on. So let me tell you guys why I didn't think that he was. Because before, when he would come to my job, he would always be like, yeah, I got to go here. I got to go get some money from here. I got to get some money from here. Right before I ended up seeing him for the story I'm telling you guys about, right before that, he told me, oh, I'm going to LA and Vegas. I got to go pick up some money and this and this and this and do this and do this. So I'm thinking scammer. I'm not thinking anything else, because to me, he looked like a scammer. He didn't look like what he is. So he bust down chains, bust down grill, money, this, 2 cars. So I'm thinking he real life scamming, and he's scamming good at this point, right? And wrong again. So back to the story. So after he said, oh, you have condoms, she said, yeah. And she opened the door and got out the car. When she got out the car, mind you, I'm still in the backseat. I'm still in shock. And he was like, come get in the front. So I get out the car, get in the front, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm like so lost, but I don't want to ask no questions, because I don't know what question to ask. I don't know what to say. This has never happened to me in my life. Like, I've seen these people on TV and movies and stuff, but I've never met one in real life. So I'm sitting there like, what do I even say? What do I have to say to go home? I need to go home. Like, I don't even need to be here. I'm over it. I'm turned off. Like, let me leave. So he's like, he just smiling at me, and he's like, hey, like, how are you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, he's like, how was work? And I'm like, it was good. He's like, you had a good time, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I always have a good time at work. Like, this and this. And then just small talk. So as we're talking, he's just driving around. Literally staying in the area. Literally just driving around. So I'm like, okay, like, whatever. He's just driving around. And then I'm just thinking in my head, like, escape plan. How am I going to get out of this situation? I don't know. So then I'm just like, okay. So we're just like talking. And then he was like, I'm about to pull up to the liquor store. Can you go inside and give me a bottle? And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking in my head, like, why can't you get out the car? And he's like, yeah, I can't. As soon as I thought it, he responded to it. Like, he read my mind. And he was like, yeah, I can't be out here. I can't be out here standing around this and this and this. And I'm like, what's going on? Now I'm getting worried. Because what do you mean you can't be out here? You can't even go in the liquor store? Are you trying to say I'm in danger? Because that's all I got from it. I got that I was in danger, and I'm the safest one to get out the car at that point. So then I'm just like, I need to go home, but I don't even know how to get there. So I'm just still like, at this point, because I'm thinking drunk. Like, I'm not thinking sober. I'm thinking drunk still because I'm drunk. Like, I'm just like, okay, like. And so I go in the store, get the bottle. He give me the money or whatever. I go in the store, get the bottle, come back out. And then I was like, I have to pee. And he's like, go inside the store and go pee. They have a bathroom. I'm like, okay. So I go in the store, the same store that I got the bottle out of. I'm like, hey, where's the bathroom? They're like, go to the bathroom, da-da-da. I go in the bathroom, I pee. I come back out. When I open the door, he's standing outside the door. And I'm like, oh, like, what are you doing? And he was like, you were taking too long. Do we have somewhere to be? What? So then I'm like, taking too long? Like, what? So I'm just like, oh, okay. And I like come out the bathroom. During that time, I had a puff. So when I got back in the car, I was hitting the puff. And he's like, oh, you be hitting those? And I'm like, yeah, sometimes. Like, usually when I drink, I hit it. Because it just hit better when I'm drinking. He's like, oh, yeah, like, I know a lot of people that be hitting those. But I knew exactly what he meant. His 304s be hitting those. So I'm just like, oh. So then we're sitting, still driving around. And he was like, open the bottle, give me a shot. I'm like, okay. So I open the bottle, hand it to him. He take a shot. I'm like, okay. Mind you, it wasn't a big one. It was a small one. He's like, take a shot. And I'm like, I don't really want to drink no more. But I didn't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like I was just like in panic mode. I didn't know what to do, what to say. I didn't want to say the wrong thing because I didn't want anything to go left. Like, I'm away from my car and we're on the host show. Like, please no. Please. So I'm like, okay. So I take like a little baby one, that's it. And he's like, take another one. And I'm like, baby one again. Boom. I took another one and I put the bottle down. When I tell y'all, I've never had a bottle hit me the worst way than what that bottle did. When I tell you, I was so like, oh my God, I was so drunk. I really don't even understand what happened. Like, I was so drunk. And then us being in the car, because we didn't get out the car once. He's still driving around. We didn't get out the car not one time. So while I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh, like, I'm getting car sick, because I get car sick. So I'm in the car, I'm getting car sick, we're moving around, and I'm drunk. So I, like, sit there, and I, like, put my head back, and I, like, close my eyes, because I'm like, like, I cannot afford to be drunk like this right now. Not right now. This is not the time, body. Like, this is not the time. You're failing me right now. So I'm just like, okay, just breathe. So my eyes are closed. And then all of a sudden, this man starts driving like a maniac. Like, driving super fast, bending corners, speeding. And I'm feeling everything. And I'm just like, like my head's back, my eyes are closed. And I'm just like kind of holding on to the door. And then after I start like holding on to my head, like I'm like this. And then I put my head down and I'm like this because I was just like, it was just too much going on all at once. And I could not like handle it. I could not handle it. And I'm like, I don't know what it was. I don't know why he was driving like that, but I didn't want to open my eyes to find out. I didn't know if someone was chasing us. I didn't know if it was the police. I didn't know what it was, honest to God. I just knew he was driving like a maniac and I felt like I was going to throw up, literally. Let's go to part 3. So part 3 of me finding out the boy I was talking to was up. So after we're driving around, after that whole reckless driving, I don't know if he was racing someone or what, I have no idea. But after that whole debacle, he ended up parking somewhere, right? So mind you, remembering, my eyes are still closed. Like, my head's still back, my eyes are still closed. He ends up parking. I open my eyes for a second, and he was just like, he's like, I'm just going to park here for a minute. I don't want to keep driving. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, why don't we just go somewhere else? Like, why are we driving around? And he's like, I have to stay over here. And I'm like, yeah, this is really true. Like, I was no longer in denial. I knew for a fact this is what it was. And I was just like, sheesh, man. Like, how in the world did I get myself in this right here? So I'm just sitting there and, like, we're talking, like, my eyes are closed. I'm like, after he said that, I closed my eyes again, and I'm like, Jesus, please. Like, I was like, God, please don't let nothing happen to me. I know I'm being stupid, but please, like, spare me. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to, like. I was just so thrown off. I was just like, I didn't mean to, like, please just keep me safe, keep me safe. So after we're sitting there, he gets a phone call, right? And it's a FaceTime call. So he gets a FaceTime call. He answered. He's like, hey, what up, brother? This and this and this. The boy's on the phone talking. I'm like listening, but not really listening. Like, I'm still just like, oh God, like I need to get out of this. Like, I cannot be here. Like, I feel like something's gonna happen. I have to go. So I'm just like, eyes closed still. And then he's on the phone. He's like, oh, what you doing? He's like, yeah, I'm out here. And he's like, oh, you by yourself or what? He's like, nah, I got my little thing right here, and puts his hand on my thigh. Cause I had shorts on. So he put his hand on my thigh, and I'm like, I'm not reacting. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do nothing. I don't even want to react. So I'm just like, And then he's like, oh, because I guess he showed him, like, when he did it, I guess he showed him. And he's like, oh, those thighs look familiar. And he's like, oh, for real? He's like, nah, low-key, I don't even know. Maybe. I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm listening to the voice. Definitely not familiar. So please, enough. So then I'm just like, okay. Like, I'm not saying nothing at that point. And then he's like, yeah, because she don't want to sell it for me. Me? Sell it? Me? No way. So at that point, I'm like, sell it for you? What? No. But mind you, pause. I missed a part in the story. Let's rewind real quick one more time. After we left the liquor store and we were driving around, we stopped at a stoplight, and it was some 304s walking by. And he was like, get out the car and go get them for me. And I looked at him like, what? And he was like, go get them for me. And I'm like, go get him how? And he's like, tell him I want to talk to him because I can't get out the car. And I'm like, I don't want to go over there. And he was like, go tell him now. And I'm like, what do you want me to say? I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to do that. He's like, you're not going to do that for me? And I was like, no, I don't condone this. I'm not going to help you do it. No, I'm not doing that. No. So then I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So he's like, all right. So we just start driving some more. And he was I forgot what we were talking about, but it was like small talk at that point. So fast forward to when we were parked. So after that, on the phone, he's like, yeah, she don't want to sell it for me. And my eyes are still closed, but I'm like, ooh, I got to get up out of here for real. And he's like, oh, for real? She don't want to. He's like, yeah, she says she don't do that. She not like that. She don't want to. This and this and this. And then the dude on the phone was like, yeah, she don't want no real money. Baby, I just made $400 off of a 6-hour shift. Plus my wage. What do you mean don't want to make no money? Baby, I do make money. I'm not making that kind of money. Sorry. So after that, he ends up hanging up the phone. We're sitting there for a minute. Mind you, my eyes are still closed. I'm like, still faking it. And then I ended up like opening my eyes or whatever. And then I was just like, I need to go home. He's like, you gotta go home. I'm like, yeah, what time is it? And it was like 2, almost 3. And I was like, yeah, I have to go. Like, I have to leave. No, it wasn't 2, almost 3. It was like 1. It was like 1, almost 2 in the morning. I was like, yeah, I have to go. He's like, you gotta go. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, can you drive me back to my car? So he drives me back to my car. I get my stuff out the car. Well, when he was driving me back to the car, I laid my head back again, and I ended up dozing off, right? Remember that key part to the story. I ended up dozing off. So when I got back to my car, I said bye to him or whatever, bye. He was like, text me, call me when you get home, this and this and this. I'm like, okay. So I get in the car, get my stuff in the car, and I was like, you know what? I need to sleep like 10, 15 minutes, because I'm like, I can't drive home like this. I feel terrible. Like, I don't know why that bottle hit me the worst way, but it really did. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I put my head back, locked my doors, and I had tents in my car at the time. So I put my head back, locked my doors, and I like closed my eyes. I woke up at like 3:20. I did not sleep for like 15 minutes. I slept for an hour and some change, right? So I'm driving home. I forgot I had to get gas. I ended up running out of gas 10 minutes from the house. I had to call my friend. She had to bring me some gas. I had to fill up my tank. We'll fill up the gas with the gas can. Ended up spilling gas all on me because I woke up so like discombobulated. Like, I'm like, I don't know what's going on at that point. And then after that, I literally like drove home. It was super late. I didn't even text him, call him, nothing. I went to sleep. When I woke up the next day, keep in mind, y'all, I made $400 yesterday. $400 in cash was in my purse. Why in the world, when I woke up the next day, there was not $1 in that purse? Not $1 was in that purse. Not one piece of cash was in that purse. Because usually when I get tips, I usually take it to ATM and I put them in the ATM. But I didn't have time. I didn't do that yesterday. The day before that. So when I woke up, there was no money in my purse. I texted him and I was like, hey, like, where's my money at? And he was like, what you talking about? I'm like, my money, the money that was in my purse. Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's like, oh, I don't know. You were drunk. I don't know. You took my money. So you stole from me too? First you try to make me sell it or ask me to sell it. Then try to have me pick you up some girls so they could sell it. And then you gonna take my money too? Oh no. That was when all bets were off. Like, fine or not, I don't care. No way. You stole from me, bruh. That man took my money. I said, oh, okay. Okay. So at that point, I was just like, yeah, I'm take that L how it was. At least I got home, you know, like, at least it wasn't no bad situation. All I know is for a fact, like, for the next time, never again. I haven't messed with the hood street dude since. I'm cool, because I don't know what y'all be doing at that point. It'd be too much going on, and I don't have time. Like, I lived in the suburbs, for real. I didn't live in the hood, okay? I was a straight A student, for real. Like, I wasn't doing none of that. I don't know no street life, no street smarts, no street nothing. I don't know nothing. So I cannot do this. It was too much going on. And I definitely learned my lesson. But all I can say is, ladies, background check, questions, anything. Honestly, think the worst. Think the worst of every man and let them prove you wrong. Because at that point, I don't think I would have ever known that if I didn't go hang out with him. And I think about that too. If I didn't go hang out with him after work, I would have never known that he was up. And I would have never known none of that. And then come to find out later, because I ended up ghosting him, and he kept texting me. But I ended up ghosting him. And then later on down the line, basically someone told me, like, through the streets that one of his 304s was in a car with him, and the car got pew-pewed up, and she ended up being unalived in the matter. And then after that, a couple months later after that, he ended up unaliving another girl. So I was just thinking in that moment, like, hey, the Lord spared me. The Lord Jesus spared me, because that could have been me unalived in the car, or that could have been me, the one he was unaliving. So now he's in jail or prison. He's in prison, and I'm actually glad. He was a menace to society, and he didn't need to be free any longer. But yeah, that was the story. That was an interesting time. Again, that was 3 years ago. I'm not as stupid as I was before. But that right there, learned my lesson. Never again in my life will I ever put myself in that position again. But yeah, see me for next story time, y'all.